I'm Simon K. Jones, and you're listening to the audio version of Tales from the Triverse. And today's chapter is The Escape from Bruglia, Part 4. Lola Stiles is travelling with Princess Darila through the Bruglian wastes as they try to escape from the city-state of Bruglia while an arrest warrant has been put out for Lola. They've fallen in with a caravan of travelling merchants and are moving through the canyons on their way to the border. It is night, and they've just been interrupted by some unpleasant visitors. The Bruglian Wastes, 3202, Frostfall. Revealed by the firelight, the three beasts circled the camp. Muscular quadrupeds, they were covered in thick, white fur that rippled with every movement. Their heads were those of big cats, but larger and flatter, with a more expressive, almost human face. Thick, curving teeth protruded from the mouths, extending down below the jaw. One of the beasts stalked towards where Lola sat, clearly unconcerned about the potential for risk, its head tilting from side to side as it observed the camp. Jacinda was screaming orders, telling everyone to get up, grab a weapon, for the wielders to get in formation. Lola could see blood around the creature's maw. Clearly, it had already killed. Jacinda's crew had huddled against the caravans, which formed a protective wall of sorts to one side, while the animal handlers desperately tried to do their jobs and stop the horses and camels from bolting. Lola was stuck fast, unable to command her limbs, and far from the protection of the caravans. Stepping towards the beast, Darila stretched out her arm, then pinched her thumb and forefinger together. She was unarmed and without armour, no more than a fragile young woman, before a carnivorous monster ready to kill everyone in the camp. The torches flickered and dimmed. The beast jerked its head, its human-like expression uncanny and disturbing. It continued its approach, claws digging into the sand. Then it stopped, as if it had hit an invisible wall. Darila twisted her hand in the air. The beast faltered, took a step back, made a pathetic mewling sound, glanced at the other creatures still prowling beyond the camp, then collapsed to the ground. It writhed on the floor, limbs shaking, and its white fur began to turn red. It was bleeding, hemorrhaging from its paws and eyes and ears and mouth. A final, forlorn attempt at a roar. Then it fell silent and still. The momentary stunned quiet was broken by one of the remaining two beasts, just outside the camp perimeter, standing on its rear two legs and bellowing. It had a membrane between its limbs and body, creating a sail of sorts, and it rapidly flexed its front legs to create a billow of air. The gust was aimed not at any of the crew or animals, but at one of the large torches mounted on top of a caravan. The flame swayed, flickered, and was extinguished. "They're going for the lights!" Jacinda shouted. "We need those lights!" Reaching down, Darila pulled Lola to her feet. "Stay close," she said, voice strained. "Can you do the same thing to the other two? If I can get a clear view. It's not easy and I don't know the anatomy of these things." Movement from beyond the wall of caravans as the other beast jumped onto the top of one of the carts, its wheels buckling beneath the weight. Another gust and another two torches extinguished. Then the creature reached out with one of its hulking paws and grabbed at someone. The Ainfar Lola had initially spoken to, she realised. They were lifted up, away from the sheltering group, with a terrified scream. "They're deliberately going for the lights," Darila said, holding Lola's hand and pulling her in the direction of the line of caravans. With her other hand she reached towards the beast that had seized the Ainfar. "There's not enough light, damn it." The beast's jaws descended over the Ainfar's head and torso and clamped down, tearing the man in half. Lola again froze, terror rising within, her muscles refusing to do what she told them. Blood poured over the cart and its supplies. A roar, and Lola turned back to see the other remaining creature stalking towards the camp from the open side, a long tongue licking its lips. Its face looked to be smiling. Two of Jacinda's crew rushed to Darila's side, holding blades. "Can you take it down?" one of them asked. "I don't think so," Darila said, letting go of Lola's hand. "But let me try something." Sweat beaded on her forehead as she concentrated. The beast approached, unconcerned by them or the blades. Darrell gestured, and the creature stumbled as if caught off balance. Its front right leg collapsed and it toppled onto its side. "Do it now," she said, hissing through bared teeth. The other two didn't need more encouragement, rushing in with their blades and stabbing and swiping at the creature. They kept to the side, away from the flailing paws, jabbing over and over. Neither of them seemed to know how to wield blades particularly effectively, Lola thought, but they were getting the job done through brute force alone. There was a crash, and the last of the torches toppled to the ground, flames sparking momentarily in the night, and then extinguishing themselves in the sand. All went dark, Lola's eyes slow to adapt to the moonlight. She could hear the squelching as the blades continued to be driven into the nearest beast, which was no longer moving. Jacinda was shouting orders. "Get the torches relit!" Lola squinted against the dark and saw she was wielding a long spear of some sort. Weapons weren't Lola's speciality. It was long and pointy. "There's one more," Jacinda said. "Anyone not lighting a torch, come to me and be ready." The steep-sided canyon they were in had dropped to an eerie silence, even the invisible insects having gone to ground. Lola's ears strained to pick up the sound of the third and final creature. She'd give anything to have the 6 blades with them, those famed monster hunters that had saved London from a Keng-To beast 2 years prior. They'd know what to do. "Get closer to the others," Darrell said, grabbing Lola's arm and pulling her towards the group. "I didn't know you were so strong," said Lola, still processing Darrell's near single-handed takedowns. "I can't do a thing without proper light sources." "What about the moon, the stars?" "Too far, too dim, no good for me." "It's all right," Jacinda said, moving close. "You've left us one and we'll take care of it." She grinned and waggled a finger at Darrell. "You're full of surprises, ain't you?" She turned to the men and women carrying weapons. "Pikes up front, you know the drill. You lot, keep trying to get those torches lit. Binders, be ready. Come on, there's only one left. Nice and easy." When it attacked, it was from an unexpected direction, leaping atop the caravans and descending upon them all, clearly seeking to scatter them and cause panic. Instead it found a welcoming pincushion of pikes and became impaled and entangled. Ropes were flung over its thrashing body and bolted into the rocky ground with hammered pitons. Jacinda walked up to the beast's head, lifted her spear, and thrust it through the snarling mouth, pushing it until the tip emerged out the back of the skull. The woman was stronger than she looked. "Good," she shouted. "That should be all of them. But get those fucking torches back up. What happened to the scouts? How did this happen?" Her inspiring talk had shifted to anger. Facing her crew, blood streaked across her face, she glowered at each and every one of them. "You do realise what would have happened if our guests hadn't hitched a ride with us?" She stood with her hands on her hips, looked at the ground and shook her head. "Pathetic. We're meant to look after each other. And on that note," she threw a glance towards Darrell, "I want not a word breathed of what went down here. Bad for business, and I promise these two a quiet ride. We owe them that courtesy. Anyone blabs, I'll break you. Got that?" The crew grumbled for a moment, then set about clearing the carcasses of the beasts and setting the camp right. The chill of the desert night had hit Lola, and she found herself shivering uncontrollably. "It's cold," she said, smiling sheepishly as her teeth clattered. Darrell put her arms around her and held her tightly for a moment. "It's the adrenaline and the shock. That was a close one." "You had it handled," Lola said, trying to calm herself. "I can't believe what you just did. Wouldn't have been much good if that last one had broken through. This could have very easily have gone the other way." "But it didn't." Jacinda had appeared at their side and clapped them both on their backs. "1 Vakshar we can handle. 3? We'd have been in deep shit." She looked at Darrell. "But we made it through, and that's thanks to you. I owe you, Daisy. And Lucy." She chuckled, mostly to herself, then waved a dismissive hand. "I know those aren't your real names, and it's not everyone who can rupture the innards of a Vakshar at night with a flick of the wrist." Lola felt the tension from the attack, shifting into an entirely new set of worries. "You're a long way from your palace," Jacinda said quietly. "Whatever you're up to, it's none of my business. I want you to know that I mean what I said to the others. None of my lot will tell a soul, not after what you did here tonight. She glanced over her shoulder at the body of the last Vaksha, her spear still embedded in its head. Grinning, she pinched Darrell's cheek. "You're scarier than 3 of those things, girl. Don't ever change." Running her hands over her face, Lola rubbed at her eyes, suddenly achingly tired. "What next?" "Tomorrow we'll be at the edge of the wastes," Darrell said. "Then it's to the mountains and the peak." "That sounds like climbing." "There will be some of that, yes." "Wonderful." Thanks for listening. Hope you enjoyed that. You can leave comments, find behind-the-scenes stuff, and all sorts of more over on the newsletter version at simonkjones.substack.com. Hope to see you there.